So my topic for presentation today is should we reform the Supreme Court? So before I begin to some problems with the Supreme Court, I just want to talk about the statistics. The statistics that basically shows the public confidence in the Supreme Court from 1975 to 2022. So you can see in 1985 to 1990, the public has a pretty really trust the Supreme Court in terms of the system, in terms of the decision. It goes up to straight up to 55%. 55% of the public trust the Supreme Court during this time period. But as you can see at 2022 here, it's gone down significantly. Only 25% of the people currently believes in the Supreme Court, trust in the Supreme Court. And 2025 currently, it's probably even lower. This rate is probably even lower considering all the drama the Supreme Court has gotten in the recent era. So this is just like a problem with the court. So, what are some problems with the Supreme Court? First of all, justices on the Supreme Court does not have a term limit. So, when a president appoints the justices on the Supreme Court, they serve for life, meaning there are justices on the Supreme Court that are actually above the age of 60, above the age of 70. So you can probably tell what that problem creates is like you have people that are over age ruling modern decisions where they're carrying sort of this old sort of perspective of the world and trying to influence it on the younger generations. And that is definitely a problem in terms of more controversial rulings like LGBTQ, abortion, etc. And another problem is the ethical front. So you have justices before they hear a case receive bribes and gifts, and you can probably understand why that's bad because if you're receiving gifts and bribes for hearing a case, that would influence the decision one way over the other and create an unnecessary advantage of one party over the next. And that's definitely not a just system to begin with because the Supreme Court system, the judicial system as a whole, is supposed to be just. And finally, the Supreme Court has currently a six conservative justices to three liberal justices. And that is a serious issue because, again, on the more controversial issues such as abortion at these rates, it's going to be the six conservative justices that will overpower the three liberal justices, and that could, create a majority over the minority. As you can see, the picture on the right about these six justices are conservatives, and only three are liberal currently. So these are some of the issues of the Supreme Court. So now I'll talk about a plan that President Biden has came about in trying to reform the court. So his plan basically involves in three steps. One is he proposed the No One is Above the Law amendment, which basically holds that presidents are not immune to crimes while in office. I think this is partly due to in response to the January 6th riot that President Trump has created, and all the crimes that President Trump has been pardoned while he was in office. But again, so that's one way to reform the court where it doesn't create a bias where it creates people above the law situation, like the president and the executive branch. And the second step that he's done to reform the court is the term limit system, where President Biden has proposed that president would appoint a justice every 2 years, and justices themselves can actually actively serve 18 years in the Supreme Court. So that's actually better than presidents, justices serving for life because you that wouldn't sort of create the situation where you have justices over the age of 60, over the age of 70 trying to influence younger generations on Supreme Court decisions. So that will create a more renewal of ideologies, whereas more sort of younger people, more modern generation will be represented in the court systems. And thirdly, he sort of created this ethical address where he proposed a stricter ethical code to prevent bribes and gifts on the Supreme Court. But he did not address legal loopholes to this, where you could donate money to the Supreme Court justices, but not for a specific purpose. So this three plans here, I think two is effective, and this third one isn't so effective. So yeah, I think that's it for my presentation. Just like a thoughtful question for you to consider. Do you think the Supreme Court needs to be reformed? It's just like a very simple yes or no questions. If so, why? Thank you so much for listening.